Hi, my name is Gabriel, Customer Success Manager here at Procore, and I am super excited about today's session, Punching Above Your Weight. Today, we have three awesome guests, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation we'll be having today. Kyle, Tim, Paul, welcome. Now, you guys have a combined construction experience spanning over 5 decades. So let's go around the room, introduce yourself, share a bit about your background, what led you to the construction industry, and tell us what you're passionate about. What are you most excited about this year?
I can start. I'll start. So my name is Paul Bélanger. I'm an interior contractor. I've been in interiors for 30 years now. I started as a carpenter when I was 17 and worked my way up. And today I own a company called Elevate Build. What we're super passionate about is obviously high-end interiors and quality and efficiency towards the client.
My name is Kyle Constrata. I'm the Vice President of Finance at Keller Construction. I started off in public practice as a chartered accountant, CPA. Worked for 7 years, moved to manufacturing as a Director of Finance for an oil and gas equipment manufacturer. Where I got a lot of exposure to ERP systems and integrating with manufacturing processes. And then I moved on to construction. I've been here now for 4 years. My focus, in addition to accounting and finance, has been on technology, innovation, and kind of strategic planning for the next decade in order to help us be competitive as the industry moves forward.
Yeah, my name's Tim also. I was brought up in development with my father, who was a developer, and I guess it was always in my genes to follow in the footsteps, should we say. So I've been working in the industry, if I say a couple of decades, it doesn't sound as long and makes me sound old. Worked in anything across Europe and North America on projects such as single family homes to currently retirement homes with hospitals and prisons and such in between. So lots of varied experience.
So obviously you guys have been in the construction industry for a very long time. So have you noticed any major changes in the industry or in the way the business is run since you've started? And what are some of the challenges you're seeing across your operation and projects today? Kyle, you want to lead us off?
Sure. Yeah, I started here about 4 years ago. When I started, much like any other GC, a lot of our processes were paper. Not a lot of, centralized processes or connectivity between the different stakeholders and projects. So just coming from manufacturing, I noticed there's quite a bit of difference on how things are done, but the industries are quite similar. So we moved to digital processes pretty quickly, but just over the last few years, especially with COVID, I've noticed the industry has made a jump forward, probably by at least 10 years, where a lot of people that we dealt with before who weren't interested in using DocuSign or getting onto Procore, all of a sudden, we're looking for assistance on how to get integrated to keep up with everybody else.
So for us, what I've noticed in terms of site and site work, nothing has really changed over since I've started anyway. We have new technology, but nothing really earth-shattering. The real changes have been on the technology side. Anything from Box, our transition to Procore, 3D drawing, all that stuff. So that's really been the changes I've seen. And personally, at first, we were a little bit resistance. There was resistance on site. A lot of the older guys didn't want to buy into it. Even myself, at first, I was a little bit pessimistic. The first software we bought wasn't very functional, cost us a lot of money, didn't work. But now it's clear that that's the path forward. Everything related to technology and grouping stuff in one hub.
Yeah, just going back for me really early on, when I used to do takeoffs on drawings, it was always pencils, colored crayons and whatnot on big sheets, reams of paper, where you needed a separate office just to hold the paperwork. So changes now where you just see that, it's on my iPad, I can do markups pretty quickly. Challenging for the only challenging, should I say, side for people on that now is just getting used to the technology. But in terms of the actual usage, it's far better than whatever it was. So for me, it's a positive.
So obviously technology is playing a big factor in the change in the industry. So what are some of the unique solution and technology you've implemented over the recent years, and what are you currently evaluating? Tim?
Well, it's just something on a different side. We've got senior living projects all the way across Canada, and just because of our design team that's spread out across the country and North America in general, we've implemented a camera system. This particular product is called EarthCam. To our homes, where it allows people from anywhere, I mean, literally anywhere in the world, to view our projects as they're developing. So this particular company, we have two types of product. We have the 360 cameras where we can just place the camera at certain points, mark it on the drawings, and then you can, revolve it and see different elements of the build. And then we've also got a camera on the external site where it can overlay different stages in the build. So we could look back a month today, 30 days, or we could do 90 days, and we could still slice the build and see where we were at certain sections. So it's just helping the world become a little smaller for us and allowing our engineers to have better decisions and more on the spot, as opposed to what used to be a lengthy process of visiting sites, then getting the reports done. We can make instant decisions from these sort of technology implementations.
Awesome, thank you. Kyle?
Similar, we're using HoloBuilder for 360 photo documentation that integrates with Procore and our sheets. That just gives a lot of transparency to our clients or other stakeholders, and allows us to kind of go back in time to time travel and see what was there before. It's good for warranty work. If there's an issue, you can go back and see what's behind the wall, and maybe who was responsible for a water leak. We started using Matterport for 3D scans, so we're getting more into digital twins. Our clients are really enjoying that, especially the ones based on the other end of the country. So instead of having to fly out here and worry about COVID protocol, they're able to, next day or even within an hour, see their entire building and digitally walk through it as though they're actually there. So it's similar to Google Street View. We've been using drones. That's more for the aerial photo documentation or video documentation as well. And we're also looking to innovate kind of on our own in collaboration with the University of Alberta. Here at Edmonton, they have the Construction Innovation Center. Right now, we're working on a few different projects with them. One involves looking at ways to build more sustainably with solar power integration, reduction of waste using 3D printing, and then also some VR stuff we're looking at as well to simulate safety scenarios to help train our staff. And lastly, we're working with another startup here on computer vision. So we've had a lot of issues lately with security on site, as I'm sure a lot of people have recently. And basically, the camera is going to be able to identify if somebody's on site who shouldn't be there, if they're a security risk, and they'll be notifying superintendent or somebody else to take action.
So for us, we work coast to coast. We work across Canada, and since 2019 into the US now. In June of 2019, we decided to put everything on the cloud. So my mandate to our IT department, even though it's small, is we're traveling, we need access to files remotely, we need all this. Procore wasn't signed on yet, but we were looking at other software, but it was really to put everything on the cloud. We got rid of all our servers and we went on the cloud. So that was the biggest step for us. And the PMs have everything on their laptops, no matter where they are all the time. So that was a huge one. And following by that, the other thing we really started to integrate was 3D modeling for our interior builds for our millwork projects. And that was another huge one that's been saving us, a huge amount of obviously time and expenses in remaking. That's probably the biggest thing I would say. And then the third one obviously is Procore, which for us has been a real game changer. And integrating Procore has given us, I would say, more legitimacy within the bigger players. So for us, that's been, so the last 3 years and implementing all this without even taking into consideration COVID. And when COVID hit, we had people that we knew that was, friends and colleagues that were speaking that were really struggling. We were already set up. So it was sort of a blessing in disguise.
So all three of you talked about Procore, and obviously as a Procore employee, I got to ask at least one question around Procore. So what are the real benefits of having a platform like Procore, which allows you for mobility, fill to office connections, being able to integrate with other critical applications in your business, and being able to provide the centralized source of data that's always up to date for all stakeholders? How does this drive efficiency and really allows you to be more competitive in the field? Paul, you want to kick us off on that one?
Yeah, sure. So for us, essentially Procore, what we've done, and we've really pushed, and I think Gabriel, you're the one who does the follow-up with us, so you know how much we pushed everyone to use the software. And we went from, I think, 0 to 60 relatively quick. The whole goal for us is to have everything at one place. So is to take the project outside of your inbox and have it on a platform. So it's not in an email, it's not this, it's not that. And right now we're still saving on the server in Procore, but we're sort of phasing out of that, where we're just take the email attachment, put it right into Procore. And the goal now, when the clients get used to it, to see that everything's there. You have to be diligent. You have to really say, okay, every piece of information goes in, but it really takes the project outside of your inbox and puts it on a platform that everyone has access to.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Tim?
Yeah, I think transparency is the big one. Whereas we may have got lost with emails and folders and everyone else's computer, now it's all just centralized into one system. So I'll give you sort of 2 or 3 examples. A lot of people have slow VPN connections, but don't have that trouble anymore. It's all just centralized in Procore, and we can get it wherever we want, on the beach or in the office, wherever you need it. And then just things like unlimited storage that we get with Procore. So recently, a health and safety contract, we required their health and safety manuals from a contractor, and instead of telling me it's 60,000 pages and we're going to send UPS with boxes of boxes, we just uploaded it all to Procore with no questions asked, no extra storage. It's just all in there. So it was great. But with that transparency also helps with things such as payments for contractors, where in the past you would say, am I being paid? When am I being paid? And now they can just openly look at the system if you allow that access, and they can just see the status of the payments and where they might be in that stage, whether they need to resubmit or whether it's been approved or not approved. So just, again, it opens it up for everybody just to be transparent and all being on the same platform, you're singing from the same hymn sheet.
So for us, when we rolled out Procore, our approach was to work from the outside in. So work with the end users who are going to be touching the system the most. And Procore was the best option out there, and I think it's only gone better from it. Mobility is a big thing for us. So before, our superintendents would have to all have laptops, which got quite expensive with 50 guys in the field, would have to VPN onto the server. They forgot a password, they're locked out. And there's a lot of disconnect between the different stakeholders on the project, because that's just our company connecting with our server, not the stakeholders. So any sort of issues within the project have to go through this whole traditional routing process, really no different than the paper process, even if it is digital. But by going to Procore, everybody has instant access to the same information. You have a single source of truth. And then for us, it also connects with Sage 300 CRE. So that integrates with our accounting system. So there's just a constant push through of information, and there's no bottlenecks. There's no translation anywhere along the lines. Really helped with our client relationships. They really appreciated the transparency, knowing that they could go in there at any time and see daily log notes, photos, RFIs, and never had to be concerned that there was some sort of issue pending in somebody's inbox that they wouldn't find out until 2 weeks later, and it's going to cost a fortune to remedy. So that transparency gave a lot of our clients a confidence in working with us, to the point where they would just choose us, really, as opposed to going to an open tender, just knowing that there's much less risk working with us, rather than trying to get somebody at the lowest price and then fingers crossed everything works out well.
We often hear technology equals growth. So from your perspective, how does technology help your business to scale during those growth periods? And how does it help increase capacity with existing resources? Kyle?
So for us, we had a project administrator, but then we started taking on a lot of TI work. So we work with a couple large retail clients. So they do refreshes every couple of years. Across Western Canada, one of our clients had over 100 locations that need to be refreshed. So normally we would have to hire on a couple PCs, maybe a PM, have a bunch of different stakeholders trying to manage this project, and hopefully it didn't get too chaotic. But with Procore in place, we only had to have really one PC managing the entire project. So he oversaw the construction of 100 different stores. I believe we had 2 or 3 different crews across Western Canada. But because everybody's on that same platform, the information is available to everybody. We know in real time what's happening, and if there's any sort of holdups or issues, it can be remedied very quickly instead of having a crew stop and then worried about falling behind schedule on 90 other locations where the operators are itching to get back operating and getting some cash flow.
For me, I mean, I won't necessarily talk about growth, but I'll talk more of how to be efficient with the people you've got currently. I mean, with the information we talked last point about the transparency of things, and right now you can see what RFIs might be outstanding, what documents or what submittals need to be approved, what payments need to be approved, all those kind of things. So instead of sort of working your way through these various sections, the dashboard on Procore, a particular project, you can see you're probably redlining, you might be overdue 4 items on one thing, and you might be, 10 coming up. Everybody can see it, and you can just go straight to it. So if you can imagine your weekly meetings or site meetings you have, you can just hit straight to the meat of it and just get to the core, as opposed to, fluffing around the outsides and wasting everybody's time. I want to say wasting everybody's time is precious, right? So it's just being more efficient and more effective. And also it gets dealt with pretty quick. So if you've got an outstanding RFI, no one wants to be that one person that's holding the chain. So it normally gets answered there and then, or certainly within a quicker time scale to, the emails that might happen and things like that. So it just helps everyone in the organization be more efficient. And a good example of Carl, he's got one guy running a lot of projects there, which I think would have been unheard of without the use of Procore.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree 100% with the points the guys brought up. Pretty much the same with us. The biggest thing is I've noticed is we're doing more with less. So on our end, what we've done is we've merged the administrative role with the PM role. The administrative role, there's still technical administration where you're entering a PO, but that role of printing stuff out, copying stuff, and the whole workflow has changed. And we're able to manage that now with one person with a PM. And since we've integrated accounting, the questions going back and forth, is this PO, is this come in, is this paid, we're solving, the PM can go in and see the whole outlook of the project. They see who's paid, what we've been paid, when to release payments. So it's we're clearly doing more with less as a summary.
Awesome. Now, I think it's clear that the industry is changing. I think it's clear that where the industry is going to be in a couple of years is going to be very different from where we are now. So as both technology and construction rapidly evolve, where do you see your business and the industry in 10 years from now? Tim?
Could be a number of avenues, but I'm a big advocate of offsite modular build. I just think it's a more efficient way to build, and in a more controlled environment. And I think there is a push. I just think there's a lot of scared people perhaps in the industry that's not sure how to implement or which way it's going to go. But I mean, for me, like in 10 years, I've got a younger or older teen, should we say, who's looking perhaps next step of getting into the workplace, and I'd love for him to join the construction industry. I think you're always going to have a job. There's always a need, but doing something like modular offsite build, where he's in a controlled environment, conditions are always set. There's no issues with people on site getting upset because the weather's awful. Those kind of things. So I think modular, or certainly some form of offsite build, whatever that might be, is going to be the best way. Just things like right now we're having an industry issue with materials and shipping mainly. Imagine having that control where offsite's already in the warehouse, already being built. We can build in bulk. So for me, that would be the future that I see in 10 years. I'm hoping for, just because I really love it. So that would be my avenue in 10 years.
Awesome. Paul?
Yeah, so for me, I can see the tech side continue to evolve. But like I said earlier, in my 30 years and having come from site, I have not really seen anything on site evolve apart from lasers. But to me, that's minor. Well, it's a big advancement. But it's not changing essentially the work people are doing on site. We're still putting screws in a wall, and we're still we're still doing all this labor work. So for me, if you compare it to the auto industry, which has been automized with robotics and stuff like that, construction is one of the only industries that really hasn't evolved in terms of the way the work's being done. And I think the next step is really some sort of robotics. And I know Hilti came out with a tool to start installing, lasers. You can add, not lasers, hangers. You can program it and it goes and install hangers. And I think that's just the start of what's to come. And I think it has to get there because the labor shortage right now, the lack of skilled trades, I think it's got to go in that direction. So I'm excited to see how that's going to evolve.
Awesome. Kyle?
I think it's going to be really a question of optimization and more outcomes focused. So even starting from the design phase, how do we design something in order to produce it as quickly as possible, maintain quality, and also minimize resources and cost. So I think with generative design, we're going to get some really interesting buildings kind of cropping up. And from that design phase, I see integration within the supply chain, from the general contractors to trades, even to manufacturers. So I think it's going to be, depending on what aspect of the building or what scope, some might be done off-site as manufacturing, others might be done on-site with 3D printing. Any sort of work that is very repetitive or dangerous or just has a lack of labor to do it will be done by robotics. So I think there's going to be really kind of a best-in-class solution for every scope of every project. And then as we get more and more advanced, I can see these projects being more consolidated and having kind of batched, almost like batch manufacturing done for construction. So instead of doing these one bespoke building at a time, you might be doing a plan for the entire, a strip mall. You're planning the entire thing, or a massive shopping complex where every single store is planned as one production run instead of having 5 different GCs on site. I think it has to be done.
So it does look like we have time for one last question. So I'll ask you all this question. Investment in technology is not a question of if anymore, but rather of how and where to start. Can you provide a brief advice on to a company that would be looking to follow your steps in evaluating new softwares and tech partners?
Yeah, sure. So I think the biggest thing, and I've learned this through experience, is spend the money. We marketed, we tried different things. We went for a lower, price point. We did all that. And at the end of the day, it's not worth it. Do your research, find the product that's best suited for what you're trying to do, and then spend the money. It's worth every cent of it, and you make it back. And I think we spoke about this in other conversations, Gab. The return on investment for us has been huge. And we don't even think about that payment anymore. The Procore, like it's I'm not going to say it's a pleasure, but it's a no-brainer. So, and I know when you're small, everyone looks at the price tag and they hesitate, but really to be in the game and to be efficient and to put these workflows in place, spend the money, get it done. And it's as important as any tool you're going to have on site, if not more.
Yeah, just touching on Paul's there, I actually had a different software package. I won't name them just in case. And it was good. But I always wanted Procore. I just knew the capability of them and what it could bring. And we've been using them 3 to 4 years now. And you know what, it is, it is a bit of a struggle for the first few months, just where you get sort of getting into it and understanding what needs to be done and all the information that you put in, what you can get out from it. But it's kind of like learning a new language. Once you sort of speak it, everyone's on the same sort of language too. So just the way you can integrate everything, the way you can talk to one another, and there's no point sending different emails out, it all gets through the same thing. So and I think we've also touched what how efficient it is, and I don't want to put people out of work, but in terms of it will take the role of a few people. So yes, there is a price tag to it, but the benefits I think certainly outweigh it. And I think Paul, Carl, and myself will all tell you the ROI is well worth it.
Well, first, I recommend obviously starting with Procore, using that as a hub. Before I implemented, I did a lot of research and I kind of read a lot of user reviews, actually. Even went on Reddit to see what the end users are saying, not just the controller or whoever's implementing it. I want to see what the people having to use it, what they're saying about it. And everybody knows it's usually not necessarily positive comments on the internet, but I didn't really find anything negative. So we use that as our hub. And then from the marketplace within Procore, I wanted to have everything integrated. So after having Procore in place, I looked at the best-in-class solution for whatever our needs were. So shopping through the marketplace, you can find things that will plug into Procore that are compatible. And the other thing with that being in the marketplace is that it's going to be more prevalent in the market, as opposed to finding very unique products that maybe other people are using or less people are using. But using that marketplace as a place to shop for the best-in-class solution, if something else comes out that's better, you just kind of get rid of the old one that you're using and you plug something new in. So as Procore gets more and more established, you're going to have a lot more people, just like in the App Store, kind of vying to get in there. So you're going to have this constant evolution of a product that you can kind of swap out very quickly. So start off with Procore and then go through the marketplace, find out what you can integrate, do some research. Capterra is a good site for software review. Reddit, really try to find negative reviews. And if you can't find any negative reviews for a product, then it's usually a pretty good one to go with.
And I do want to highlight, we did not tell Kyle to say that, so that is great to hear. We are pretty much at time, so I did want to take the opportunity to thank you all for providing or sharing your insight on the industry and where it's going with technology. Really, really appreciate that. I also want to take the time to thank everyone that joined the session. If you do want to continue the conversation, we are going to be available to chat. If not, I do wish you all a great day and enjoy the rest of Groundbreak.